This is Hammam from Careers and Alumni Office. I would like to welcome you for this session for the Majors Day, where you can listen to faculty and students of the Petroleum Engineering about the major. And if you have any question, you can ask us at any time. So we have today Dr. Ahmad Al-Shalabi, Dr. Muhammad Haroon, our students Ms. Amna Al-Qahtani and Mr. Abdurrahman Al-Marzouqi, who's going to give us some presentation about the major. So Abdurrahman, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone, I'm Abdurrahman Marzouqi and I welcome you to 2021's edition of Majors Day. Today we'll be presenting to you all about our Petroleum Engineering Department as well as some important information on the industry itself to give you a lovely taste of what it takes to become a petroleum engineer. I'm accompanied by Dr. Ahmad Al-Shalabi and Dr. Mohammed Haroon, as well as Mr. Ahmed Al-Zaawi, Ms. Amna Al-Qahtani, and my colleagues as well. The following is an outline of this presentation. I'll be covering the points all the way till laboratory facilities, and then my colleague Amna will take over to present the points that follow. Let's talk about our history. The oil that we see today dates back to hundreds of millions of years ago. And throughout the time that we existed on Earth, we got to extract and utilize it merely 200 years ago. This began in the 1890s, where petroleum engineering had its foundations established in California. Following on by approximately 30 years, the first petroleum engineering book was drafted and published by the American engineer Lester Earl. Moving on to this part of the world and to a more recent time period, the first petroleum engineering student was admitted into the Petroleum Institute in 2001, which is now a part of Khalifa University. We, the Petroleum Engineering Department, aim to equip you, our future students, with the best of knowledge and expertise to function efficiently, not only as an engineer and problem solver, but also as a team member and perhaps one day even a leader. We are here to deliver on the visions and strategies of our great leaders by nurturing, growing, and transforming our students' skills such that they become the best of the best in the industry. 6 important questions that I would like to cover today, which have often been asked by people, all of which revolve around 6 topics, beginning with renewable energy. Contrary to some people's beliefs, as a non-renewable energy sector, the petroleum industry is in support of renewables to provide energy. One of the reasons is that oil doesn't only go to our cars, our engines, our generators. In fact, it has other uses, such as in medicine, petrochemicals, lubricants, and others. Artificial intelligence. Nowadays, we see AI everywhere, on websites, in computers, and even cars. So what would prevent that petroleum industry from getting that fair share of the sweet AI as well? Artificial intelligence, in fact, is being used in our industry to provide intelligent analytics and solutions which surpass in quality and performance when compared to those of the human brain. Some doubts that you may have include those regarding the future of oil in terms of a resource as well as its industry in terms of career opportunities. Well, let me get to those points by beginning with your future job. You see, with ever expanding new discoveries, petroleum engineers are in great demand around the world. Just a while back, our beloved Abu Dhabi discovered 24 billion barrels of oil. And who told you that oil will run out? As life continues to improve, the demand for oil keeps increasing, meaning that the industry will remain strong for years to come. As only 15 to 20% of the oil discovered around the world went to production. This means that there's still 80% more to go. Can we live without oil? Some may have doubts that oil is running out, and that other means of power productions are being utilized currently. Allow me to share that we have become so accustomed to oil that it is being used in many industries apart from energy. For example, sulfur, which is produced with oil, is used in the food industry. This means that without oil, there will be a food shortage all around the world. Finally, some of you may wonder what the petroleum engineer's pay is. I'll tell you this, the task of a petroleum engineer is a crucial one to an oil company, a company which operates a business in the magnitude of billions of dollars. Let's take a moment for you to imagine, billions. This means that the salary of a petroleum engineer is way more than average. And we, as a petroleum engineering department, want to take you there. With us, it's possible. These are the oil wells that are currently producing in the UAE. As you can see, there are still undeveloped fields left for our future generations, left for you. The petroleum industry is one of the many that deeply care for nature and its environment. As such, heavy investments are put into minimizing environmental damage. You all know what carbon dioxide does to the environment, right? Did you know that with hefty research and investments, the petroleum industry developed a genius technique where instead of dispersing carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, we inject it back underground to produce even more oil. That's two birds with one stone. Let's talk about Khalifa University's Petroleum Engineering Department. It is locally popular, recognized and accredited by the UAE Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research, as well as a vet. You will be taught by a top-class faculty, ensuring that you get the best education to prepare you for your future. In addition to this, you will be applying your theoretical knowledge practically in well-equipped, state-of-the-art laboratories and facilities. Imagine being taught by the top 21st Petroleum Engineering Department in the whole world, right here, right in the UAE. You will also have the opportunity to participate in international conferences, competitions, as well as take your next step post-graduations to work with ADNOC Group of companies and its partners. This is a typical undergraduate petroleum engineering curriculum. There are a total of 138 credit hours. For your freshman year, you will learn the courses just as your Khalifa University peers. From your sophomore year onwards, your track will begin diverging away from the general courses and focusing more on your petroleum engineering curriculum. Personally, what I like about this is that all the courses are interconnected, meaning that the information you learn and the courses you complete will all accumulate into giving a better understanding of the petroleum engineering industry. Our curriculum integrates with that of others, with the many concepts and theories of others, meaning that you may find some similarities here and there. See, it's not rocket science. By the way, as a petroleum engineering student myself, I came to see that many of these concepts can also be applied in the food industry, funnily enough. For example, as petroleum engineers, you learn how to prepare drilling fluids, learning the concepts that allow you to optimize the fluid's contents, such as to produce your required results. What if I told you you can use these same concepts in your spare time to prepare and engineer some high quality coffee, which you are going to need as university students? So if you choose to come with us and take this petroleum engineering path, you can also be an amazing chef. Here are our proud petroleum engineering faculty and staff who will be teaching you throughout your entire period of study. They are a wonderful group of people to work with and truly care that you're equipped with the best of knowledge and skills. The following are some areas of research that are studied in this industry, and these include enhanced oil recovery, improved oil recovery, where you devise means to further extract oil from the ground after the primary method is no longer viable. Reservoir characterization, where you will develop computerized 3D models and simulations of reservoirs and see how they play out and simulate, such as to identify the right execution to extracting oil from a reservoir, and other areas of research, which include artificial intelligence in oil and gas, as well as the drilling and well completion, flow assurance, and others. The following pictures are of the state-of-the-art laboratory facilities that we have. You have the drilling simulator laboratory, which is an example of a real-life oil rig, fully computerized and digitalized. This is similar to what you see in the oil rigs around the world. You also have the core preparation laboratory, where we prepare tubically extracted cylindrical rock samples from deep below ground to be analyzed in other labs, such as the rock properties laboratories, which is shown to the right over here. Moving on, you have three more laboratories. You have the production and facilities lab, the analytical instrument lab, and fluid properties lab, all of which, including the previously mentioned three, are state-of-the-art. Moving on, my colleague Amna will cover the remainder of this presentation.
So thank you, Abdurrahman, and now I would like to move on to the Society of Petroleum Engineers. So, yeah. So the Society of Petroleum Engineers is a student chapter where petroleum engineering students and professionals, they meet, exchange ideas, and associate through social events at Khalifa University, as well as having the opportunity to participate in regional and international competitions. And one of the most greatest gift that you get from by joining this society is that you could visit the industry professionals at ADNOC and know how things are working in real life, where you get relevant to an industry experience. Next. So in the past years, there has been a lot of activities and many accomplishments. And as you can see, in 2017, the student got the third place in Manama for the Regional Petrol Bowl competition in Bahrain, as well as in 2019, they got the first place. Next. So, and for sure, these accomplishment does not go unrewarded, which they have different certificate of participation that is being rewarded from the Society of Petroleum Engineers. Next. So here are the most exciting experience. There are other KU student activities of several field visit in the UAE is being arranged by the Petroleum Engineering Department, such as Nipfield, that is in ADNOC onshore, and Das Island visit. Next slide. As well as the Schlumberger MLC Center in the UAE. And the next. And also the core lab visit and the Schlumberger PVT lab visit, which is all located in Abu Dhabi as well. And our petroleum engineering department, they provide an opportunity to their students to meet and exchange and share their research findings with our great leaders from different events. For example, as we have the ADBIC, where we all know that many engineers, professionals, or leaders, they visit this type of events. So what are the available job opportunities? Trust me, there is a huge demand on petroleum engineers, and jobs are available on offices as well as field locally, regionally, and internationally. There are majority of job opportunities in the petroleum engineering industry. And if you became a petroleum engineer, and hopefully we will all do, it is not just one job. This major is subdivided into different sectors that includes reservoir engineer, drilling engineer, production engineer, completion engineer, and so on. So as I mentioned earlier, that there are many international oil companies that a graduate student could work within. So petroleum engineering is not about ADNOC. That is what we always think about. There are different ventures such as British Petroleum, Total, GS Energy Corporation, and so on. So you would also have the opportunity to work with the surface companies such as Schlumberger, Halliburton, Al Mansouri, Weatherford, and others. They are all located in Abu Dhabi. And one more thing to add is that petroleum engineers, they receive the highest salary among all other disciplines. So who does not want a high-paying job? Just think about it. So as for the role of women in petroleum engineering, women is playing a very growing role in the oil and gas industry. And today in ADNOC, around 15% of the senior management position, they are all occupied by women 100%. And by highlighting two of the successful women that are Ms. Taiba Al-Hashmi, she is the CEO at Al-Yasat, and Ms. Fatma Naimi, she is the CEO at ADNOC LNG. And today, ADNOC operates an onshore field, which is called Rumeitha, by all women in engineering. And hopefully you will be a part of them. So as for the success stories in the petroleum engineering department at Khalifa University, we have Ms. Salma Al-Hajri. She is the director of Mubadala Petroleum, and Mr. Khalid Al-Kindi. He is the senior vice president drilling at ADNOC Drilling. Mr. Abdullah Jarwan. He is the vice president operation in ADNOC Offshore. Ms. Sarah Bakhti, she is the Vice President at TDE International. And of course, as we have here in today's meeting, Dr. Imad Al-Shalabi, who is currently the Assistant Professor at Khalifa University, which he is also one of my great professors that maintains professionalism in all areas with the respect of others. As for the closing remark, I came across a quote from His Highness His Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and Deputy Supreme of Armed Forces in 2015 and the Future Energy Summit in Dubai. He mentioned, "We shall celebrate when we send our last oil shipment. This means that it is not anytime near, and if this happens, we shall celebrate and appreciate this moment because our country depends heavily on oil and gas industry." Next. As for the acknowledgement, we would like to thank the PE Communication and Student Activity Committee and the Petroleum Engineering Department at Khalifa University and the Petroleum and the ADNOC Technical Communication Department, and for sure the SP chapter at Khalifa University. So petroleum engineering major is so exciting, and we are here to go through this journey because oil and gas are the treasure of our country. So that is the end of the presentation, and thank you all for listening. So we will open now the floor for any questions, and we will be glad to answer to all your concerns. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Abdul Rahman and Amna, for interesting presentation. And I need just to add one more thing before we open the floor for students to ask questions. Our petroleum engineering department has been ranked as the 21st among the universal international universities in the world, and this achievement has been just announced 3 days back. So I believe this is the place where you all students need to be, so you carry a degree which you will be proud of at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Dr. Muhammad, would you like to say something?
Yeah, thank you very much. What I'd like to add to, I think our students covered everything. Outstanding job again. What I'd like to add is oil and gas is the pillar of our economy. Construction is a very big dominant part of our economy, but oil and gas is the main DNA, the nucleus, the center of our economy. With oil and gas, we are able to fulfill all the requirements of our economy all the way to national security and international excellence. The UAE has risen to a world rank in education. As Dr. Ahmad just mentioned, we are now ranked top 25 in the world, ranked number 21 in Petroleum Engineering Department, which is an outstanding achievement for our beloved young university. MashaAllah, this is something we're all super proud of. Looking at, again, to bring in more connection into what oil and gas does, I believe our students did an excellent job discussing that oil and gas is beyond what the standard human eye can see, right? In terms of fueling, transportation sector, manufacturing, power plants. Power plants historically have been utilizing coal, which is, by the way, higher carbon at the end of the day. But of course, with us being at the forefront of showcasing our respect and taking the bull by the horns, as they say, in terms of protecting the environment, we are mobilizing into cleaner fuels. Those cleaner fuels are actually hydrocarbon. So we moved from coal to oil to natural gas, and we're going to keep on moving up the spectrum to reducing carbon footprint. Guess what? As Abdurrahman, soon to be a doctor, Abdurrahman, I do envision a PhD very soon in your future, is the fact that we actually are the only industry that best utilizes CO2. CO2 being a major concern for climate change. I'm very proud that our beloved government is one of the few in the world that have a ministry of climate change. So we're taking literally all these matters very close to our heart, and this is all driven by our knowledge and wealth of oil and gas. Also want to add to the fact that the renewables, people misunderstand the fact that the renewable sector is something that is a threat to oil and gas. No. We actually welcome renewables. And if you dig deep into it, the oil and gas industry, and specifically our government, as we all know, are the main investors in renewable. Solar panels, CSR, all the way to wind turbine and all that. This is actually oil and gas technology. Environmental technology that deals with remediation and decontamination, this is oil and gas technology. As simple as your iPhone or Samsung or what have you, this is oil and gas technology. Your laptops, your tablets, this is oil and gas technology. Your clothing, my God, is oil and gas technology. So we are truly the nucleus of the economy, truly the nucleus of the educational system around the world. Aerospace, nuclear engineering, environmental engineering, civil engineering, they all interface with oil and gas technology and oil and gas fueled and funded projects. So we are here to support all disciplines, and we are here to grow together. So that's my message to all.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for such speech. Now we're waiting for students to ask. Students, please, if you have any questions, you can. If you don't want to speak out, you can write it down in the chat. I will start with a question that I receive from students, usually from in the careers office. What's the difference between oil and gas engineering and or petroleum engineering and chemical engineering? Like I see chemical engineers who actually work in an oil and gas industry. So what is the main
beautiful
difference?
question. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Beautiful question. Basically, petroleum engineering, as you eloquently stated, deals with oil and gas. But to be more specific, we've got multiple facets of the oil and gas industry, and that is split into upstream, midstream, and downstream. In upstream, this is specifically when we are dealing with beyond your confirming of the findings, right, after we've done the exploration exercise, is in terms of what is known as field development. And with that, you are going through the detailed drilling and completion job. This is where you are literally drilling into the ground, and you're talking 3 to 7 kilometers below the surface of planet Earth, be it onshore, be it offshore. And in offshore, you're talking about sometimes in excess of 10,000 feet of water depth, such as in deep sea drilling. Now, as you're drilling and completing the wells, of course, when you drill the wells utilizing the drilling bit with the respective drilling fluids, then you have to complete it, and that comes by virtue of putting in the right completion, such as your well bore, your casing, your tubing, and perforating the well so that it now has the open pathways from the reservoir porous rock to deliver the beautiful black oil, as we call it, right? Oil and gas. Mm-hmm. That oil and gas makes its way up to the surface of planet Earth. And then it goes into a series of very detailed high-level technology in terms of safety checks and safety valves. And you don't produce just oil and gas, you produce oil and gas and formation brine, which is very high salinity water, as well as all sorts of chemicals from your production chemicals, and you're producing what is known as non-associated gases, which are non-hydrocarbon gases, such as what is known as your CO2 and H2S. And yes, CO2 and H2S have been geologically created by our subsurface microbial environments in terms of the separation of the organic matter and other chemical reactions. As these consortium of fluids, oil, gas, hydrocarbon and non-hydrocarbon and water goes through now on the surface network, which is known as now the production surface facility. Production surface facility is a very detailed component. So now we have handled what is known as the drilling engineering component for the drilling and the completion. We've handled the reservoir engineering component, which is our reservoir engineers realizing how to make use of our science and technology into delivering the most valuable combination of these fluids to maintain the longest life of the well. And now it goes into what is known as our surface engineers, which are your production engineers, still in petroleum engineering, that handle the separation of the oil, gas, hydrocarbon, non-hydrocarbon associated gas, and water. Now we are about to leave the oil field. And the fact that we have separated the oil, which is marketable, high value, the natural gas, hydrocarbon gas, also extremely high value because it pollutes a third less than oil, and the associated non-hydrocarbon gases for great value, such as what Abdurrahman was discussing in terms of utilizing that CO2 for re-injection back into the subsurface environment to enhance the oil recovery. Well, again, two birds, one stone, right? Reducing the emission carbon footprint. Now we moved into the next trajectory, which is known as midstream. Midstream is your pipeline network that delivers the oil and gas into to the market, either to the export terminals for exporting it to our beloved international global market, or to now the chemical engineering domain, which is the refineries and the petrochemical plants. And that's what the chemical engineers have taken a big leadership in the oil and gas industry. And that domain is known as downstream. So that crude oil is not the oil that is utilized in engine oils or in fuel, be it diesel or bunker fuel, fuel oil, or jet fuel or gasoline. This is crude oil, which needs to be cracked. It needs to be cracked. It needs to be thermally cracked according to a very detailed manner. And now you are able to extract the light components, the intermediate components, the heavy components, and that is then refined at the respective refinery to deliver the fuel that the humanity and the actual world economy utilizes, from your diesel to gasoline to kerosene, jet fuel to even avgas and race fuel for the beloved race cars and beyond. So that's the component of chemical engineers. That's the very beginning of the component of chemical engineers within oil and gas. There's beyond that, because when you talk about further downstream, and this is going back to what His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed was quoting, where we will celebrate the export of the last oil, because selling crude oil to the market is you are selling the raw material. And the value of the crude oil is a lot more than selling it as crude oil. Of course, we are here to support our beloved international market with our great long-term, half a century and growing political ties and international relations. But the crude oil barrel, which is 42 gallons, has a lot more value, in just converting it to gasoline. And so this is where the chemical engineers come in. And they go into the further mature downstream. And this is your petrochemicals, such as Borouge, what Borouge is. And that's what generates your plastics. And the plastics are not just for your bottles of water or what have you, or handheld devices and all sorts of electronic gadgets and computer, laptops, what have you, casing. But it goes into body panels of airplanes, body panels of automotive. And then the very, very next forward of all of that is the future petrochemicals, which are fundamental in treatment of pharmaceuticals, and actually that's connecting into eradicating all sorts of health diseases for humanity, all the way into the next level, which comes up in terms of understanding the meaning of the single cell organisms that don't exist anymore on planet Earth, but existed hundreds of millions of years ago, and those single-cell organisms would play a vital role in the future of humanity in terms of creating better food-grade products, and of course further enhancing health and lifestyle. So yeah, chemical engineers are in a nucleus component within the oil and gas industry, in the forefront of the downstream.
This is great, Doctor. You really can feel the passion of this field in your voice. So we got a question from the student Hor. So she's asking, Doctor, that as a petroleum engineering student in Khalifa University, what are the available competitions that students can participate in internationally, and how can the student show up his or her abilities and capabilities in the petroleum community?
This is a beautiful question. We actually start the competitions in-house, okay? I think our students can attest to that. We do have amazing, healthy, competitive environment. And within our courses in undergraduate, we create groups very well. Really, this is engineered groups in terms of putting in the right montage of the perfect uniform distribution of the different brain power. And we utilize these different groups to develop very important components of their engineering design, including full field development of what we just discussed, you know, from your, well, in our case, upstream, right? Everything in terms of from exploration to populating the field with the minimum amount of wells to deliver the maximum amount of oil for the longest period of time, while making this economically feasible and environmentally sound. With all these different types of course-based projects, which are a fundamental component for their graduation. Now, all of a sudden, they have, alhamdulillah, I'm very proud of that. It gives them the confidence to speak with thoroughbred knowledge, precise delivery of the message in such a short period of time. Not as much as me, okay? I speak a little too much, but they make it more precise. And with that, that goes into your graduating project, which is with the last year of the 4 years of petroleum engineering. This is known as petroleum engineering project design. And they're actually utilizing real data from ADNOC and other oil companies around the world. And they take a major leadership in developing their graduation project on a full field development. And you're talking 7 modules from your, as our students mentioned, from your drilling engineering, including drilling and completion, to your production facilities, production engineering, to your reservoir engineering, to your reservoir simulation. Reservoir simulation is very much like what the pilots do, the airplane pilots. We're not going to allow anyone to carry passengers into planes before they've logged tens of thousands of hours of simulator flights before they actually go and physically fly the plane that we put our kids in. So this is what we do, where we cannot mobilize ourselves as a molecule down into the reservoir. So we take advantage of science and engineering, and we build beautiful models, static and dynamic models to simulate what takes place at 3 to 7 to eventually 10 plus kilometers below the surface of Earth. So these are all these projects that we do in conjunction with ADNOC, taking a leadership, but other oil companies in the region and all the service companies in the region. And we bring in a panel of ADNOC top leadership, from field people up to, we've had CEOs, ADNOC CEOs, judging our students, judging them for their betterment. And then, of course, now our students are equipped with all the tools and capability, and they go into the next step forward. And this is something I'm beyond proud of. Usually it is only graduate students, master students, that get involved in research and get involved in publication and presentation in conferences. But our students have a record for at least the last 12 plus years, starting with Ahmad, when he was an undergraduate student with us. Dr. Ahmad was involved in research from his undergraduate period, from the age of 20. Yeah, he's our young offspring, and they would go and compete against other universities in the country, in the region, and the world. And this is what this is about.
Let me give
the next generation.
Let me give a credit to Dr. Harun, who was my one of beloved co-supervisors for my master degree. Thank you so much, Dr. Harun. And if you may allow me just to add on the top of that. So basically, we have also this, as what Dr. Harun talked about, the non-course related competitions. We have in our local SPE, the Society of Petroleum Engineers, as what we said here in Abu Dhabi, we're organizing a young professional competitions, those where it allows petroleum engineers, either those who studies at schools or from companies, to share their research breakthroughs in a paper based contests. And we have also a well-pronounced competition that is called Petrobol. And in this Petrobol, students from all different petroleum engineering programs around the world, they compete. And it's in terms of questions and answers. So we form teams and they gather in one of the top petroleum engineering conferences, which is ATCE, that is taking place in the US mostly. But we're lucky that now we started bringing it here in this part of the world, in Dubai, in UAE. And this is going to take place this year in about October in Dubai, hopefully. And this is where students really they participate and they compete. We prepare our students internally for this competition. So we have our internal team and we make different many competitions between them and mock-up quizzes, questions for them to prepare, and then we send them to compete regionally. Usually it's done in Bahrain or Saudi Arabia. And then after that, the top teams in the region, they go and they compete internationally in the ATCE conference. I hope this answers your question, Hor. So there is really a big chance for us to highlight our names. And as what our students and Amna showed in the presentation, we really saw so many successful cases of our students. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Harun and Dr. Ahmad. I want to ask a question that I always face, or usually students ask about, because when I meet with companies, when I ask them, what are you looking for from a graduate? Is it the GPA? Is it the personality? Is it the skills that they have? They always advise that, okay, while GPA is really great, it's really good, but also personal soft and hard skills are very, very important. And for you as a student to gain them, you need to participate as much as you can in other extracurricular activities, other non-academic events that happens at KU. So what do you guys think that are the skills that are mostly required or can be required before I graduate that can make me more employable, more ready for the industry as a petroleum engineer? Doctor, I think you're muted.
I'm so sorry. I had another call. I was multitasking. Okay. So, but we can add to that. I really appreciate what you just stated. Yes, it's really GPA is one of the criteria when you're talking about a hiring committee. But another very important component is well-rounded characters, right? With a well-rounded education. Okay, so this is something that I have to give as a quote from one of my beloved professors, who's very happy that he was my professor. But yes, he's one of the world famous figures, and he's been teaching. He taught for 70 years at university, well, he's seen every generation, graduated every type of student, and his products did lead to oil ministers, OPEC, Secretary General, leaders, CEOs, and the whole 9 yards. And what he told me is education is a continuous evolution. It's a beautiful journey. And what we teach continuously being updated. So what we teach right now is the fundamentals to know how to think, critical thinking. And the tools that we taught in the 40s are different than the tools in the 50s. Man, we didn't even have computers back then. Maybe there was one in the world, right? In a secret military undisclosed location. But the tools are advancing in such a high, fast pace. And this is what education is. It teaches you the fundamentals of the science and knowledge of how to utilize these tools, but more importantly, how to be faced with a problem. And that problem may very well be dealing with 1 million barrels a day. A third or a quarter of our daily production, inshallah, that's going to be 20% of our daily production as we get to 5 million barrels a day in the next few years. And how to maintain that, how to sustain that, and what is sustainability, what is continuity, and how to analyze and how to create a detailed characterization of the problem and the future problems that are to eventually hit the surface. And so how to be adaptive, how to come up with new tools. So this is what the education is about. It's not carved in stone and we're looking at things from the 18th or 19th century. Yes, the fundamentals are from there, but it's about the way of life and the approach to critical thinking and the capability of breaking down a problem and realizing how do you come up with a beautiful creative solution that makes the most sense for today, and another one tomorrow, and another one in 10 years, and another one in 100 years.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Doctor. I wanted to ask the students one quick question because we're running out of time. What are you guys looking for after graduation? What are your plans? What do you want to do when you graduate? Abdurrahman and Amna.
Thank you for that question. For me, after I graduate, I really believe in giving back to my country. I think that taking this major is it's a poetic choice because as Dr. Mohammed Haroun said, we are the backbone of our economy, and well, my country is the backbone of my childhood, my growth, the way I grew. My country nurtured me and basically helped me become who I am today. So this is, I believe it's my job to give back. It's my responsibility to give back. Inshallah, when I graduate, I'm looking to join ADNOC's forces, their team. I think this is the right way to go for me in terms of where I'm headed.
Interesting. What about you, Amna?
It's really an interesting question, and for now, I have many things in my mind to do. But as Abdurrahman he mentioned, that for sure I should give it back to my country, and especially the education that they give it to us and Khalifa University, since they have a great course of petroleum engineering. So I believe that the knowledge that I get, I will try to benefit to the industry that I will be part of it in the future. And hopefully I will be, inshallah, joining the ADNOC and try to prove these knowledge that I get to my career future.
Inshallah. I would like to thank you all very much for such interesting presentation. And I want to tell our students, you can always contact us if you have any questions, and we will send those questions to the petroleum engineering doctors. Thank you very much all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Haroun, Dr. Ahmad, Abdurrahman.
Thank you, Mr. Hammam. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your efforts. Thank you. And we look forward to welcome the new joiners of students to our department.
Inshallah.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.